Alexander Isak training with Real Sociedad in the Basque region of Spain. How does this affect what could be the biggest transfer of the summer, bar none? It's heating up. It's getting dramatic. There's no question about it. We're going to break down how this affects Liverpool and, of course, Newcastle United and the player himself. This is a juicy, juicy transfer with an extra level of drama, because going to that area of Spain, your former club, training there while your teammates are in Asia, is very, very interesting. Leave your thoughts down below about this situation and, of course, the transfer on the whole. Make sure you subscribe as well. Would really appreciate it. An overview for me has to be that since the initial informal kind of request between Liverpool and Newcastle United to talk about Isak, no official bid's been made yet, but it looks like it's getting a lot closer. I really could see it happening very, very soon. But the fact that Isak has obviously come out kind of to representatives and said that he wants to move, he wants to explore options. That was the kind of term that was kind of thrown around, 7 days ago, 6 days ago now. And now he's training for with his former club, obviously trying to get back to full fitness ahead of the start of the Premier League campaign. Right now, he's a Newcastle United player. But you have to say, why aren't you in Newcastle doing your therapy? Obviously, he didn't go on the tour with the Newcastle lads in Asia. But going back to Sociedad, there's something symbolic about it. There's something ironic about it, I want to say, because obviously Sociedad, a bit of a home for Isak, a bit of a place where he really developed into an absolute superstar. Obviously, he was at Dortmund and previous clubs before that, but at Sociedad, absolutely revered, absolutely loved. And there has to be said, there is a transfer kind of situation featuring Sociedad. If Liverpool came in and actually bid 150, 140 million pounds, which I could see happening, Sociedad get a percentage of that sale. They get about 2% from FIFA rules. I think it's the FIFA Solidarity program, because he was at the club at such a young age. And then he gets 10% of every euro above 70 million euros. So we're looking at 10, 15, 20 million euros for Real Sociedad. For me, if I was the owner of Newcastle United, I wouldn't want my star striker training at Real Sociedad, especially if they could get a piece of the pie if Liverpool come in and bid big money on Isak. It's not a great look from a PR perspective. And from the other kind of perspective from Alexander Isak, going back to that kind of former club while you're still with Newcastle United, for me, isn't ideal. And there's this energy around Newcastle United, around Eddie Howe. There's a passivity, there's a kind of acceptance, a reluctance that this deal might actually happen, because ultimately Eddie Howe's come out and said some quite passive things about the idea that he hasn't got quite the control over the situation, that he's technically a Newcastle United player. But there's this idea around it when I've seen Eddie Howe in press conferences, particularly in the last couple of days, post-match press conferences, talking about the situation. He looks like he's a resigned figure about his star player leaving. Now he's in Spain training by himself. It's almost like he's detaching himself away from Newcastle United. And it goes back to the idea of player power. A player of Isak's quality, a player that has done so much for Newcastle United. It's almost like player power. It's like soft power. We're one degree away from him refusing to train for Newcastle, period. I'm not ever going to accuse him of doing that, because that hasn't happened yet. He's been in Spain training, and he's allowed to do that. Newcastle United aware of his movements, but it isn't a great look. And it does suggest a transfer incoming, in my honest opinion, because I think he's trying to force a move out of there. Let's be completely real. On Monday, the Newcastle United squad come back. Do not be surprised if there's a bid before that happens. Put maximum pressure on. From all accounts, Liverpool are looking at £130 million with add-ons. I don't think they're going to get to the 150 that Newcastle want. But if you get 90% of that, £130 million, I think you'd be crazy to turn it down, particularly with the PSR issues that Newcastle United have. It's not a fair position for Newcastle United to be on. They deserve to keep their star players. But if Isak's refusing to train, if it goes to a different level next week where he doesn't even want to come back to Newcastle to train, again, I'm not going to imply that that's going to happen, but what if it did happen, theoretically speaking? Then the pressure mounts for Eddie Howe, the pressure mounts for a squad to be settled before the season starts. And Isak, one of the biggest names in world football, could he be on his way to Liverpool with that news? You look at the Liverpool squad as we approach the start of the Premier League as well. Arne Slot is really bigging up the idea of adding quality. He says something along the lines of, if there's a chance in the market, we'll never hesitate to go and get it. He said that very, very recently, talking about quality. In the end, it's all about quality, he said. We've made some good signings in terms of quality. We're already in the right place. That still alludes to me that there are signs that Liverpool would want to strengthen in this position. And you actually take a deep dive into their squad. We get a little bit excited. We saw Ekitike coming in. We're seeing links to Rodrigo, for example, links to other players. You think, oh, Liverpool don't need anyone else. When you actually break it down, if they're really committed on selling Darwin Núñez, I think Chiesa is basically out the door, isn't he? As long as they find a decent suitor. Harvey Elliott doesn't really fit in the midfield, especially with Florian Wirtz now. Doesn't really fit as a right winger or a left winger. He's basically out the door, I'd suggest, unless he's being used as a squad rotation. Suddenly you think, actually, who's playing down the middle for Liverpool next season? Ekitike, fantastic talent. I've talked about him enough on this channel, so I'm not going to do it again. But then you think, actually, proven Premier League goals. Where is it coming from? Now, Salah guarantees you that, but what if he gets injured? And I ultimately think you can't just rest on Salah every single game. He got isolated against PSG with Nuno Mendes in the Champions League. Big sides need 2, 3, 4 players. Real Madrid have got Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham. You could argue City have got Marmoush and Haaland and Cherki. Liverpool have got a lot of talent. Gakpo is a fantastic footballer, Ekitike. But they are a little bit B-sides to the A-side of Salah. There's a justifiable position in this squad for Isak to come in and actually take over the kind of number 9 position in this Liverpool side and strengthen them in a big way. Isak, Ekitike, Wirtz, Salah, that is outstanding, and it's not out the realms of possibility. That's just why I look at it. I think, especially with the money coming in for Diaz, I mean, I talked about it on this channel. I thought it was a fantastic deal for Liverpool. They've doubled their money. They've sold a player that's achieved nearly everything with them as a footballer. Use that money, discount the price of Isak, and suddenly the price of Isak goes from 150 straight cash to, you take 60 off, you take 30 off for Núñez. Suddenly they're only bidding 60, 70 million pounds. I actually kind of think they'd be stupid not to test the water. Isak wants to go. He's half dipping his toe into the water of not training with Newcastle United. Again, I'm not going to keep reiterating the fact that come Monday, I'm sure he'll be back in the northeast of England. But what if that doesn't happen? And you can get him for, it's basically, what, 70 million pounds of actual money, and the rest is kind of player sales. I think you can be a little bit too smart in today's day and age. Sometimes you just go out and buy the goals. You're talking 35 goals in 67 appearances for Newcastle. You're talking 23 league goals last season. Add that with Salah, and you're talking major honours for Liverpool next season. And you're talking about a player that can completely take over the reins of the likes of Salah, Van Dijk, Trent. That generation that's slowly being phased out because of their age. Salah's got a few years left, but Isak, he's a star right now. You don't know about Ekitike. We don't know. Gakpo isn't going to be that kind of figure. He's a fantastic player. Liverpool could do with another star in that side. They've lost Trent as well. We don't really talk about that anymore. So suddenly you think, actually, there is a space in the squad. The player's trying to do as much as he can to symbolically look like he doesn't want to be at Newcastle United. This is going to get dramatic in the next few days. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments down below about Isak. I'll see you very, very soon.